Hey folks, welcome back. In this video we'll show you why and how we got this thing in here. Oh, hey folks, welcome back to KEI Fabrication. Alright, we're about to make the fuel cell protector, which is just two 90-degree bends. I needed my bend start lines to be 18 inches apart, so I cut my tubing with plenty of left to get the full stroke for 90 degrees. I marked it in the middle, and then I did my bend start line. Half of 18 is 9 inches in one direction, 9 inches in the other, and this is my bend start line sight, if you will. So the other thing I want to point out is this is hot rolled electric welded tubing, which means it has a weld seam. You always want the weld seam, whenever possible, on the neutral axis. So if I'm bending 90 degrees in this plane, the center of the tube that is facing upward relative to the plane of the bend, or perpendicular to the bend plane, is the neutral axis. And what that means is the material in the neutral axis moves the least amount. So you're not putting a bunch of stress into the tubing. If the weld was on the inside and it was trying to shrink inside the bend, you would be trying to crush that weld, and the material properties of the tubing, it's much harder because of the welding process or the hardness of the tubing in that location is higher because of the welding process. So it could potentially kink there because it's resisting the ability to shrink. If it's on the outside and you're trying to stretch this, because the material has been hardened, it doesn't stretch evenly and you could end up with a thin wall portion of the bend, or you could actually rupture the weld seam because you stretched it too far. So whenever possible, it's a good practice to make sure that your weld seam is in the neutral axis. On this particular bender, the bend plane is horizontal, so the weld seam needs to be perpendicular to that, so it's going to be oriented or pointing vertically. All right, let's make a 90-degree bend. See if I remember how. Alright, so I am referencing the tubing clamp with my carpenter square, and I'm using the weld seam as my reference, and I'm kind of eyeballing a 90-degree bend. And I also measured 8.5 inches of stroke here as another reference. You always got to go a little more, so my 8.5 inches of stroke was actually beyond 90. And to compensate for what's called the spring back, you have to release the tension on it, loosen up the die, and then check to see if it's 90 degrees. So I probably only needed to bend it like 7.5 inches of stroke to get to 90 degrees, but in order to get it to have a memory and come back after I released the tension, I had to exceed the 90-degree bend and then release it or relax it, and it springs back. So I've got a really good right angle bend here. So I'm going to remove the tube, flip it over, align it with my bend start line, and do the exact same thing again. Do you smell that, or is it just me? Alright folks, that's going to be it for this one. If you're still with me, obviously you like this sort of thing. Thank you so much for following along with the rebuilding and restoration of the old number 7, otherwise known as the B&J Special. Thanks for watching. Follow along. There's more good stuff to come. Subscribe, like, please comment below. I'm always encouraged and interested in hearing what your thoughts are and interacting with you. Thanks again. Hit that like button for me, would you please?